Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to share a short video that I hope will be relaxing and maybe encouraging to you. It's on the subject of freedom. I'm a part of like an online Zoom group of people, group of thinkers, and every week the host brings forward some kind of a topic for discussion. A lot of times it's based on the meaning of a single word, which is right up my alley because I'm a big etymology word nerd. And this past week, the host brought up the question of freedom. What is freedom? And based on a lot of the things that the other people said, I felt clarity and inspiration and encouragement for ways that I have not felt free in the past couple years, and ways that I'm moving towards freedom. So I just wanted to share some of the thoughts that came up during that conversation, and I hope that maybe it will give you a sense that if you're not currently feeling free, that freedom might be something that is accessible to you, even if your life feels very constricted right now. The past 2 years of my life have not felt very free. I'm the type of person that's always been very independent and has loved having as much time as possible to pursue my goals. And I'll tell you one thing that gets in the way of that is having a baby in your house. I had no idea. I've got a little kiddo, my wife and I, and I can't imagine a life without my child. I genuinely love the life that I have now, but it's come with a gigantic change to my life. Specifically, I don't have many hours now that I could really call my own. That's been difficult. Going from a person who has ample time to set goals and to make big things happen. I'm an entrepreneur. I love studying. I have all these things that I want to do. And now all of a sudden, over the past 2 years, most of my time has ended up being sitting with a kid and playing with puzzles or reading books, watching kids' shows, trying to keep a child happy who is not happy and is loud and sometimes makes all kinds of noises and exclamations that make me feel really stressed out and very trapped. Lying in a kid's bedroom upstairs for an hour while my kid walks over me and asks for me to read the 10th book and overall just won't want to sleep. And again, I wouldn't take those things away. But a lot of times when I've been in those moments, especially when I was first getting acclimated to this new life, I found that I would spend a lot of my time sitting in those moments just feeling like I wish I was doing the thing that I really wanted to do. I feel trapped. I feel stressed. And I'm in an environment that I wouldn't prefer. There's other stuff that I want out of this situation. Throughout my period of being a new dad, I had this Bible verse come up in my head over and over again. It's a random one. I don't know where it is, and I don't really remember much of the context, but Jesus was talking to Peter, who is one of Jesus's followers, and he says to him something like, there's going to be a time where people are going to take you where you don't want to go. That's the gist of it. That's the part that stuck with me. It was just Jesus saying to Peter, you're going to be taken places where you don't want to go. And I really resonated with that, because I felt like a lot of my life was suddenly that scenario, basically. My time wasn't my own, and there really wasn't anything I could do about it. My circumstances were totally outside of my control. I was just stuck in this position of, not having time anymore. And the more I thought about it, the more it seemed interesting to me, because when I think about what the apostles and the Bible felt like, to me they seemed to feel very free, despite the fact that on the exterior their life had all these constraints. And that just seems so interesting and strange to me. It suggested to me during my time of parenting that maybe freedom isn't just a life where you get to do what you want to do at the time. Maybe there's some sense of freedom that you can have even while the exteriors of your life are constrained. And I want that. And so I've been thinking about that a lot. I've had a lot of time to, because a lot of my life lately has been, not doing the things that I would necessarily prefer to do. And so I've had opportunities to just try and channel, how can I feel free right now? Is there any way that I could feel freedom in this moment with my kid? And so I just wanted to share 2 ways where I'm subtly starting to feel the possibility for that freedom. I really do think it's possible, even in a life where you get taken places you don't want to go. The first way that I'm starting to feel free has been coming about in the context of me and my kiddo. And it seems to be coming out of changing my relationship to what's going on right now. I've noticed that in my life, a lot of my present experience right now, my thoughts are basically, I wish stuff was different. So, for example, when I'm with the kiddo upstairs and I've been watching her for 5 hours and she's not going to bed, rather than really paying attention to anything that's going on at the moment, what I'm thinking is I wish I was somewhere else. I wish I was sitting in a cozier chair. I wish I had a beer. I wish I could watch TV. And I'm noticing more and more that what that means is I'm not really here right now. I'm somewhere else. And in a way, I'm kind of rejecting what's going on at the moment as insufficient or unsatisfactory for me, because I'd rather have something else. And I don't mean that in a judgmental way of I should be present. I don't mean to moralize it in any way. But I think that's kind of what's happening And I noticed that in a lot of moments in my life. Even when I'm doing the stuff that I want, say I'm at a coffee shop and I'm reading a book, I'm in Kyle heaven. Even in those moments, a lot of times the nature of my thoughts are things like, I wish they turned the air conditioning on. I wish it was quieter. I wish I didn't feel so foggy headed today. And what I've noticed is that as I practice accepting what's going on right now, just experiencing it even, what's happening right now suddenly doesn't seem bad. It doesn't seem good or bad as much. It's just beautiful and tangible and interesting. And I found that in the moments where I stopped thinking about what I'd like, and instead I'm just here and aware of what's happening, taking it in instead of thinking about it. All of a sudden I'm noticing that what's bad about the situation isn't really bad anymore. Bad was just kind of an idea that I put on the situation. But what the situation really is actually more beautiful than I'd noticed. And there are more parts of my current experience that suddenly seem interesting to me, compelling for my attention. And I felt freedom in that. I felt suddenly like I wasn't actually stuck, but that I was actually doing the exact kind of thing that I always really want to do. It makes me think of how I'm goal-oriented as a person. I spend a lot of my time and energy thinking about plans, and I like that about me. It's fun. But one of the things I've noticed is, I'll give you an example. I mentioned I'm kind of an entrepreneurial person, and when I got into that at first, a big motivation for why I wanted to be entrepreneurial was so that one day I could be independently wealthy. And what that meant was that I wouldn't have to spend time making money anymore. Like, I would have free time. And then I could use that time to be creative. I could use that time to kind of just enjoy my life, which for me is sort of like being in the moment. But I can do that right now. Somewhere along the line, I got a little confused and thought that I needed money in order to be present, that was the way to do it. And I couldn't live my life until I had a lot of money. But I'm realizing now that the real thing that I wanted all along is accessible to me right in this moment. I don't need a lot of money before I can live my life. I don't need a lot of time before I can be present. I could be present even while I'm working my job or watching my kid or doing whatever. And that's kind of the thing that I really wanted all along. I said there were two ways that I'm starting to feel free. And the other way that I'm starting to get a glimpse of how to feel free, even when outside circumstances are kind of out of my control, is seeing my emotions more clearly and seeing that I have options for how to react and be. I'll give you another example from the parenting perspective. I've got a lot of parenting stories. A couple days ago, I was 15 minutes late for leaving to pick up my kid from daycare. I was really tuckered out at the end of the day, and I just wanted to lay in a chair. I ended up laying in that chair too long, and so by the time I left, I was going to be late to pick up my kid. And the whole time I was driving there, a good bit of it, I felt really guilty because I knew that my daughter was probably going to be the last person at daycare. And I don't really want that to happen. I don't want my kid to be the last person picked up. And so I noticed this guilt, just this feeling of like, I did something I don't want to do, and I feel sad for the situation my kid's going to be in. It's not a huge deal, but I don't know, the guilt was there for me. But I noticed that I was feeling guilty. I was aware of my guilt, and I didn't shy away from the feeling. I tried to like really feel it as much as I could, actually. Instead of like shutting my eyes from the guilt, I tried to be there with it and just let my whole body feel guilty. Feel what it feels like to be guilty. Let that guilt just grow and just sit with it. And what I realized from just being more aware of my guilt in that moment was that I didn't have to let my guilt decide like how I'm going to live the rest of the day or next time I got to pick her up. I don't need guilt to make sure that I pick up my daughter when I'd like to tomorrow. Even if the guilt's there, that doesn't have to be the reason why I act. It can just be a component of what I'm feeling. And so all of a sudden, the fact that I've like objectified this feeling of guilt, like it's a thing that I'm looking at and aware of. It's not my whole sphere, just I'm guilty, I'm doing this thing, I'm guilty. But instead, like I'm feeling guilt here. All of a sudden, guilt is one of many voices and options that I can consider for like, how do I want to act? And what that means is that tomorrow, instead of picking my daughter up on time because I don't want to feel guilty, I don't like that feeling of guilt, I can pick up my daughter whenever I want to, according to my principles and my values. And maybe the feeling of guilt will still be there, but guilt doesn't have to be the reason why I do stuff. If I notice the feelings that my brain or my ego, my emotions are giving me, all of a sudden they can kind of be options or suggestions instead of the thing that you have to do. And somehow noticing them is the key for me in being able to have options. That's what I'm still playing with, like in the early stages. But it's been influential too for me, just feeling free right now, feeling like I've got options. So that's all I wanted to say, and I hope that if nothing else, you feel relaxed from hearing me talk for a little while, and that maybe you feel encouraged by what I say. If something I say resonates with you, then accept it, and if it doesn't resonate, then you don't need to accept it. But I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me, and I hope you have a great day.